Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we're just going to have a little brief chat about the chances of seeing a new Abaddon the Despoiler model in Blackstone Fortress. So, there's been a bit of stuff sort of floating around. I mean, we've talked about the possibility of a new Abaddon model, along with Obliterators, and there was also a rumour engine that was quite clearly a Chaos Sorcerer as well, that showed up a little while ago. And to be honest, it all seems fairly plausible. We've talked about the fact that we keep seeing all this stuff about Chaos showing up sometime around December. I've seen stuff talking about Fulgrim, there's been stuff talking about Angron, about Abaddon. There's loads of kind of different rumours, but kind of similar in theme, which essentially Chaos is coming back in a big way. It's just which bit of Chaos is coming back in a big way. And obviously Abaddon does need a new model. He's in need of one, quite badly. The one he has now, not great, not ideal, let's be honest. It's showing its age just a tiny amount. And I guess it does sort of make sense on the surface to think that perhaps he could show up in the Blackstone Fortress game. But I don't think he will. See, this is the thing. It's a theory that I keep seeing repeated quite a lot, where people are basically kind of not pinning their hopes on it, but there seem to be a significant number of comments that I've seen on things like Reddit and Fayette, and I've seen a few people talk about it on Bolter and Chainsword, and just there's like a steady trickle of people who are setting themselves up for Abaddon being one of the models in the Blackstone Fortress box. And I just don't think that's going to happen. And it's not just me being like contrary and being like, oh no, I just disagree with you for the sake of it. I don't see it happening because, for my money, Abaddon is far too big a name to just chuck into a standalone game. Because when you look at some of the other stuff that we've seen the Rogue Trader Janus Drake, who looks absolutely fucking amazing. Oh my god, what a model. There seems to be a Kroot Mercenary who I assume is working with him. Although I haven't watched the video for the Kroot Mercenary, so I could be wrong. And we've seen the stuff about this Chaos Sorcerer a while back. Now, the Chaos Sorcerer needs an updated model. The Obliterators/Mutilators need an updated model. If we were to see new Chaos models in the form of a Sorcerer and Mutilator/Obliterator, I would absolutely believe that those would be in the Black Fortress box. I would absolutely go for that. I mean, when you look at what they did with Silver Tower, that would actually fit that pattern really, really well. It would work for the game, it would work narratively, and it would put, I would suggest, the different factions in that box on a similar power level. If you chuck Abaddon in, the power level thing becomes completely nonsensical. I mean, obviously, when it comes to things like tabletop games and so on, yes, we have these consistent characters, we have these recurring people who, survive by amazing odds, and plot armor is real. It's absolutely real in Warhammer 40k. It has to be. Everything is so dangerous and so capable of absolutely ruining the ever-loving shit out of pretty much anything else it comes across. There's always someone bigger than you in Warhammer 40k. That's one of the things that makes the universe so cool. But I do not see Abaddon realistically getting wrecked by some random dude with a handlebar moustache and a rapier and a codpiece. I just don't see that happening. I don't see that as a feasible matchup. When it comes to especially narrative-driven stuff, for me a big part of it is the feasible matchup thing. A Chaos Sorcerer who seeks to take over a Blackstone Fortress to perhaps present it as a gift to Abaddon, to raise himself up in the rankings, to gain a bit of favour, to gain a bit of power, gain a bit of influence. I can absolutely see that, and I can see a Rogue Trader being a decent match for something like that. Abaddon himself, he is the Despoiler, he is the War Master, he is the leader of 13 Black Crusades. He is one of the few beings capable in the 40k universe of getting the various warbands and disparate forces of chaos to work together for a fucking change and actually get shit done. Abaddon is not going to show up on a Blackstone Fortress with like 10 dudes and have at it. that's not how he works. That's not where his motivations lie. That's not something that I could feasibly see him doing. Narratively, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense. And given that Warhammer Quest is, I would suggest, more narrative than the standard tabletop game, because there is the aspect of, you know, Gilliman has died thousands of times at this point in people's tabletop games. Dante has died thousands of times. Like Marnius Calgar, gone. Abaddon himself, gone over and over. Huron Blackheart, also gone. Magnus, gone. Araman, gone. In tabletop games, yeah, they die all the time. They get wrecked all the time. That's a function of the mechanics, not a function of the narrative. The way that the characters are presented in terms of lore and in terms of battles is not the same as what happens actually in the game. It can't be, otherwise we would have no consistent characters because everyone gets killed in the end. That's just how this shit works. So the type of game that Blackstone Fortress is, I just do not see Abaddon being thrust in as this, like, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, he is, like, not in stature, but in standing, he is a gargantuan figure. He has a vast amount of influence, a vast amount of power, both physical in terms of his abilities, in terms of his diplomacy, in terms of what he has done, what he's survived, what he has achieved. He is so far above whatever random rogue trader has found the Blackstone Fortress that to have him show up is just kind of laughable and makes the premise a bit wonky. It doesn't make it... It makes it nonsensical, even for 40k, which, let's face it, can be very nonsensical, but that is like a step too far in terms of nonsensical for me. Now, a new sorcerer, so an obliterator as like the big gun, some new Chaos Space Marines, I could absolutely buy that all day, and in fact, I would be so happy if that's what that was. I mean, if Blackstone Fortress was just chock full of brand new models, you know, like new Chaos Space Marines, a new obliterator or mutilator, the new Chaos Sorcerer, you know, they are approaching this thing, they're attempting to take it, to gain influence, to gain power, or maybe just to find a relic that's on it. I'm absolutely down with that, and I could see that happening in a heartbeat. I would be incredibly surprised if it was anything other than that, in a way, if I'm honest with you. I mean, maybe the Chaos Space Marines not so much, but the Sorcerer definitely, and the Mutilator/Obliterator rumor, it just keeps coming back. I'd be surprised if that wasn't it. I mean, there's obviously a chance that it's not, and I don't have any extra information. This is just like speculation at its finest. But the chances of Abaddon showing up himself as just part of the game, that seems very, very unlikely to me, and I feel like it wouldn't be great for the game itself if that happened, because it would set a strange equivalence between this, you know, this figure of power and the rogue trader Janus Drake, who is not comparable in terms of power at all. And you could argue that, you know, maybe a sorcerer is more powerful, but there are different levels of power when it comes to sorcerers, when it comes to Space Marines. You know, it's not quite on the same level. You'd expect to see Abaddon show up to fight maybe... I mean, to be honest, I could kind of see him showing up to fight Gilliman more than I could see him showing up to fight a rogue trader over a Blackstone Fortress. I could be totally wrong. I mean, let's face it, it wouldn't be the first time this happened. I've been wrong plenty of times in the past, but I feel that if you're getting your hopes up for seeing Abaddon as part of that game, unless there is an escalation that we don't know about, unless there is another well-known character that is going to be released for it. I mean, there could be some sort of expansion where that could be the case, and that would be quite interesting if it was, if the stakes were raised by some proper big name showing up to this thing. I feel that he is not going to make an appearance in the Blackstone Fortress game. I would suggest that if he does show up as a new model, it would be a standalone release. So yeah, I guess that's it. I'll stop rambling because I think I've said what I wanted to say, just about. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think he would show up? Do you think it seems unlikely? Do you think it is a bit nonsensical if he did? Or do you think actually I'm being not charitable and the narrative would make sense? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all of the shit, Patreon, subscribe, all of that garbage. Click if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.